Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are. With Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is... yes.
Wow, what an ending! Who'd have thought Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
You're letting her keep it. Would you like to know the probability of her using it against you? It's high.
Let's get going.
It's very high.
You know, I've actually never seen Star Wars.
She's never seen Star Wars? Ted, the only people in the universe who haven't seen Star Wars are the characters in Star Wars, and that's because they lived them, Ted. That's because they lived the Star Wars.
I don't need a lecture, Chub. I didn't give up. He did.
Hunter means well. I know you're scared, but don't give up. He'll come around.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Coffee with Kenobi. This is your bi-weekly, spoiler-free place for Star Wars community and conversation. I'm your host, Dan Zaire, delighted to talk Star Wars with each and every one of you. Since May of 2013, whether you're a fan of Star Wars films, Disney Plus live action and animation, books, comics, collectibles, or Star Wars experiences at the Disney theme parks, on Coffee with Kenobi, you are among friends as we virtually share a cup of coffee while talking about this galaxy far, far away. Thank you to the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Check out coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefan-travel for a no-cost, no-obligation quote, and let them know Coffee with Kenobi and Dan Zaire sent you. On today's show, I'm actually pulling something out of the Coffee with Kenobi CWK Pour-Over vault. Pour-Over is the place for members of the CWK Alliance, which is another way to say our Coffee with Kenobi Patreon page. We have exclusive weekly audio and video podcasts and have been doing so for many years. One of our most popular ones we've ever released is when myself, Corey Club, and Tom Gross review all 11 of the Star Wars films and rank them in order of our least to most favorite ones. It's a very, very fun show. The odds are that several of you have not heard it, so I felt pretty comfortable releasing that as we close out 2023. Look for a great show next week where we look at the year in 2023 in Star Wars and Lucasfilm and celebrate some of the many great things that Lucasfilm has provided and possibly give a hint as to what is going to happen in the future. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
Coffee, tea, or me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to CWK Pour-Over. I am your host, Dan Z. Excited to be here with you and my creepy co-host. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you are a CWK All-Star and are have the Coffee with Kenobi Patreon feature where you were able to watch our videos. But if not, that's fine and good because you get to hear the dulcet tones of my co-host. First, let's bring in Tom Gross.
Hello there. That's not a voice, that's just me.
That's probably the best voice you've ever done. Good.
Thank you. Yes, well, I can impersonate myself being weird very well. Very well. I'm the best.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, great to be here. Can't wait to share our knowledge and ideas today.
We've got a whopper of a show today. So we've got to bring in Mr. Whopper.
What?
I don't know what that means. Corey Club.
Mr. Whopper.
No, do not make that stick. It will not stick. Dan's the holocran. I'm the Whopper.
Corey the Whopper Club.
Now we just need something for Dan.
It sounds like a horrible sandwich. The Whopper Club.
The Walker.
No. I don't know why I said that.
It's all good. It's all good. Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I was going to say, thanks. It's great.
Yes.
But, as
always, you're welcome for being on your own show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here on my show. Is it my show? Our
it's
show.
It's your show. It's our show.
I'm a guest host.
You're the guest star.
Former guest star.
Yeah.
Former guest star, formerly known
now
as
Masters champion,
and also
stripes.
sandwich. Moving ahead.
Yes, we can only go ahead from that.
Can I get sandwichier than here?
Sandwich.
Now, obviously, in Pour-Over, we talk about what's ever on our mind in the world of popular culture, but clearly things have kind of slowed down a little bit. But they haven't. We found some great stuff just before we started talking tonight. We're excited to share with you. First off, you may have heard it, maybe not, but Corey, Tom, and I recently recorded our feature-length commentary of Star Wars: A New Hope, which was an absolute blast. There were some technical things we had to get through, which we'll talk about. I've been literally trying to plan this for a year and a half, and then we just kind of forget, and then things come in.
Longer than that.
It takes a long time. Yeah. Well, in my mind, I shouldn't say it out loud. And it takes a long time to sit there and you're watching a movie, but you're watching with your friends. And a fun thing that happened when we were recording this that Corey pointed out pretty early on is we'd never watched this movie together before. So tell me about the experience, guys. I mean, I know what I thought, but what did you guys think?
I think we were at your house for something, Dan, birthday or something.
Oh,
and we brought this idea of like, hey, we should get together, watch a movie, have commentary, have snacks and popcorn and stuff, and like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And throughout the months, you've kind of brought it up. Oh, we should try to do that. Oh yeah, let's get that on the books, in the calendar. And for some reason, it just kind of worked out. Like, hey, if we just hop on this video call and we just push start at the same time, we can make this thing happen. And what was fun about it was we had the availability to do that, and through technology, obviously, so we have the Zoom here, and we're able to get that accomplished. I think it was fun. And like I mentioned too, we never watched that before together. Like I'm trying to live through the last time I watched it with somebody else besides you guys, other than my family my boys. But like it's been years since I've seen that movie. Just set on actually committing time to watching it. But it's funny because we've been Star Wars fans and friends for a very long time and never done something like that before. We've seen all the movies in theaters, which is great. But this was a definite high point for me for our friendship, obviously, in the show, because it was fun and watching through and seeing, remembering all the old things that I enjoy watching and seeing things you guys point out. Well, but this guy looks like that. I would point this out the last time, or this person says this quote or something, or this memory brought up this idea for me, and it was cool to see that. It's funny because doing a commentary, you want to talk and be entertaining and have some fun and have some laughs, but then like the next scene moves on, you're like, oh wait, it's just like I don't know how they do it. Basically, on the if you bought a DVD or something, listen to me how old I am. But if you bought like a copy of a movie or something, they've got like an extra commentary from the director and the actors and stuff. How they sit around and talk about all the ins and outs and stuff. So it felt like that was kind of a lot of fun to do that with you guys, and definitely bring up a lot of fun memories. And now when I watch it again, I'll have new things to talk about.
Yeah, I think the thing that that made it so unique was, like you said, we've seen the openings of several films together, back to The Force Awakens, and but what doesn't happen there is we don't talk during the movie. We don't like share our initial thoughts of what's happening on the big screen. Whereas here, we're able to sort of just not be too concerned, which actually, ironically, was the hardest part for me of that experience was, and I'm sure for anyone who has listened already, or when you do listen, you'll realize, did Tom fall asleep? Is he there? Well, sometimes I was shoving popcorn in my mouth and I was muted. And other times I was so like locked into the movie. I was listening to you guys, but I was so locked into the movie and trying to catch the things that you were talking about, and that I just forgot to talk. And so, it was definitely a unique experience for me. I've never, my kids will tell you that I talk during shows all the time, maybe to a fault. But sitting down watching a Star Wars movie, that's not something you do. It's like talking in church.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. and I when I'm watching this, I mean, we talk about it during the commentary, but I found myself going into lecture teacher mode, which is fun. And actually, people ask me fairly regularly, what do I talk about in my classes with that? So it's just you kind of get a sense of that, and it's fun to just share some of the trivia that we've heard over the years on A New Hope, and just kind of experience it together. The thing about the Star Wars, especially the original for me, is always how it kind of brings, we kind of get like this like-minded mentality where we're all in this incredible experience together. Like Corey on the Falcon right now, you just feel like you're part of something special. And to watch with some of my favorite people, like the two of you, it was great. I found myself at times riveted in the movie, and sometimes speechless too.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned too, like if you guys listen to the commentary, like the movie is like a good 2 hours, and it flew by for me. Like it was fun to talk about, like I said, the memories and things. But then I did get wrapped up in the movie too, and I forgot a huge plot point at the end. I completely forgot. I was really sucked in, and I realized some things that I didn't know about. I thought about the movie, like the last ending scene where they are all kind of, packing up the X-wings for the big final battle, and that's a long sequence, as long as I remember. And just even the dogfighting sequence at the end, like as a kid, like, and just I didn't really like connect to me. I was like, I just knew that Luke did the trench run and won, but like that whole sequence is pretty interesting as you guys kind of talk through your points and things and say, oh, this happens because of this, and why does he go out there and he wants to get his hands dirty, Darth Vader does, and just things like that. Just like, yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about it that way. It's more of like, it's just interesting. Aspect of looking at it from a different person's point of view too, and it's cool to see that. I think it's because we talk about Star Wars, and it's easy to argue. It's easy to say, well, this is my point and this is my point's correct, but kind of like coming together and watching the film as it is on the screen and say, well, I don't remember it happening that way. You can actually talk about it on the screen as it's happening and go, oh, it did happen that way. It's cool. I think it's exciting. I think it's fun. And Dan, to your point about the the lecture notes and things you do with your class, I've always wanted to hear that. I think it's cool. Fun to hear that background, because there's a lot that goes into the mythos and the story writing and the characters themselves. Like, oh, hey, he watched this here because he's going to do this, and this means this. It'll harken back to this point in the film and why he did this there. And to me, that's such an interesting aspect. Being a writer myself, like, and seeing that story, the characters move through that, and just the way I was meant to ask this too, like the fact, like the way it's the hero's journey is built out in that movie. It happens almost like you said. There's 2 or 3 moments where 3 things happen in one scene, which I didn't know. I always thought it was like you had to have this, and you have this, and you have this, which is right, but like. It's just the way it's paced and the way it's set up for the way George Lucas done it. Now look at me, I'm going into just the commentary itself, but commentary on the commentary. But it's all good. It was fun to do. I'm excited to do it again for sure.
Me too.
Absolutely. I have to say, this whole conversation takes me back to one of the most iconic Coffee with Kenobi episodes, where the two of you, and I don't remember who the third person was, pretended like Star Wars was brand new, and it was Jeff McGee, yes. And so I was just thinking about that when you were talking. I was like, oh, that's a classic Coffee with Kenobi episode. Do you recall the episode?
That was a celebration.
It was a celebration Anaheim, and I was
about
doing that. Yeah.
That was
last night. It was the last night before we left.
Okay, and we sat, I think, outside like the convention area, and just sat on a bench and pretended that was.
Just came out.
It was 1977. Just came out, which I wasn't born yet.
That's cool.
But
it's one of my favorites.
Oh, cool!
Well,
I didn't know that.
That's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut. Wow,
I like that. That's so cool. Well, thanks for bringing that up. That's so fun. All right. Speaking of fun, we're about to embark on a perilous, challenging mission. Something we've never actually done, as far as all of them go. But we are about to rank all 11 Star Wars movies.
I'm second guessing myself already.
Me too.
I'm like making notes right now.
So we've only got about 20 minutes. I mean, if it goes a little longer, that's fine. This is a special episode. Should we go from our very favorite to our least favorite, or our least favorite to our most
backwards?
Let's go the other way. I think
go backwards.
I think we can knock out
faster.
some of the low ones.
I agree.
So do the ones we'd like. So first we'll go with my least favorite Star Wars movie is blah blah blah.
Number 11. Yep.
Okay. Well, then, why don't you go first? What is your number 11? Well, let's put a caveat out. Corey had a great idea. Hey, every May the 4th, let's re-rank these things.
Yeah, I love it.
We may change our minds 5 minutes after we've said this. Or forget. That's possible too. All right, Tom, number 11.
All right, number 11. And is the caveat that, just because it's number 11 doesn't mean that we don't think it's great and fun
That's right.
and awesome.
These are all great movies.
I'm
movies
looking,
are like pizza. Even when they're not good, they're better than most
I'm looking at
else.
11 and 12, 10 and 11. I'm like, there's
why they put these here?
Yeah.
Just happen to fall.
Okay, so number 11, Attack of the Clones.
Okay. Are we going to comment on these, or are we just going to?
I guess the reason I put it number 11
is
the reason I gave it number 11 was it pulled me out of the story when we're in the droid factory, and I felt like I should have been holding a controller and leading Padme and Anakin and R2 through that droid factory. To me, that scene is what drops it down to the bottom, because it just was way too video gamey for me. I think there's great action in there. I think there's key story in there. And actually, Battle of Geonosis is one of my, when we did on the Facebook Live a few weeks ago, or I guess it's been about a month now, when we talked about the best lightsaber battles, that was one of my top lightsaber battles, was Battle of Geonosis. So, and that's in Attack of the Clones, my lowest movie.
All right, Corey.
That's my rank, same one. Attack of the Clones is for me, my 11th month movie. And my reasons are, it doesn't come up in my mind as evident, as oh, that was really cool. Or there are scenes, like you said, there's great scenes, great characters, great moments, but it just doesn't sit as a proper one for me to just rewatch and go and enjoy. And maybe I need to go do that again, and then it'll kind of bump it up and go, oh yeah, I remember that moment, because there's some cool things. It's just you mentioned just these characters. I don't feel like they don't have a lot of growth necessarily. But now that I talk about this, I'm thinking the memories that come up with it. I remember this is the movie that I saw at midnight when it came out, and was dating my wife at the time.
Holly, right? Yeah.
She fell asleep. Yeah, and it was just that makes it an even better memory. I want to rank these now, but it's too late. I'll wait till next year. But I'm going to leave where it's at. But I do remember the Yoda fight at the end's pretty sweet. But it's just not that great for me. So there you go. There you have it.
And again, and actually Mason had this great little conversation about this day. He said that Empire was his least favorite movie, and I said, I didn't know you didn't like it. And he got kind of upset. He's like, Daddy, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just like the other ones even more. That's
Nice.
a great point, buddy. That's a wonderful
Great
point.
perspective.
I like that. I'm going to use that perspective from now on.
Yeah,
I didn't say I didn't
exactly.
like it. I just like the other one's better.
That's true.
That's very true. Yeah.
I
definitely.
might put a little asterisk by what I'm about to say, though.
Okay.
My number 11 is
you're
The
gonna
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons I haven't watched it yet is just because I will say I really like the novel that Ray Carson did, the novelization. But again, this movie has some key moments that are some of my favorites in the entire saga. I have wonderful memories of my experiences with the movie. Because this movie I got to meet Harrison Ford. That's great. That's mic drop, and that's fine. But it's the only Star Wars movie this entire list where I take umbrage with how some of the story is told, some of the directorial choices, even some of the acting, which I think overall the acting in the sequel trilogy is great. But I shouldn't even say the acting is more like there's a ton of character missteps. I'm still not happy with Poe. I don't like Rey's lineage, but I'm not going to lament and scream about it. I mean, they did what they did. There's a lot of people much smarter than me making this movie. This is what they made. So be it. That being said, it is my least favorite. I still like it fine. But if pressed and I had to cut one from the history of Star Wars, this would be the one that would go.
Interesting.
Yeah. Seems pretty harsh, but I mean, that's why this is the only stuff I would say on Pour-Over, but I think in 7 years, there's been 2 times in 7 years where someone said that I'm like a company man and I like everything that Star Wars and Disney does. I'm like, no, that's actually not true at all. So
I think that's okay. I mean, that's the thing too. Like this list is what it is, and I think in order to have some great films, you have to have some dumpy ones, and that's just the way it is for every fan, for every franchise. So There you go.
And I could easily spend hours, and I have, talking about things I do like about that movie too.
Sure. Sure.
All right, number 10.
All right, number 10. And this one, oh my gosh, this one bothers me too to sit at this spot. Actually, they all bother me to sit at this spot. Number 10, The Phantom Menace. I just, it's just because I don't have any place else to put it. I love the ships. The Naboo starfighters, or not starfighters, but the cruisers are by far my favorite. And I love those. And then I love Padme Amidala, and I love the Battle of Naboo, and I think that is so cool. And so, but it just, and then Darth Maul battle, the lightsaber battle. There's another lightsaber battle that's in my top 10 easily, and probably my top 5. And it's sitting at number 10. But I just, I have to be honest with you. I think what ruins the movie for me, not ruins the movie, but what I struggle with the movie with is the novel is so much better. So
Which
much
is great.
better. So I guess that's all I'll say about that one.
No, it works.
Yeah, so my next one, number 10 for me, is Revenge of the Sith. And that only moved up because of the recent Clone Wars wrapping up, and knowing like kind of that ran into it. I was like, that's a cool way to run Clone Wars into Revenge of the Sith, and seeing those events happen from perspective, which was really cool. And again, to Tom's point, like, it's just kind of where it fell. I mean, gosh, I mean, I feel like I have to go back and watch the movies and give them just a little bit of credit and be like, why didn't I like this? Go back and watch it and find out. But I'm just leave it at that. That's where it sits right now, number 10 for me.
You said Revenge of the Sith?
Revenge of the Sith, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. All right. I'm a little surprised by that. That's cool, though. My number 10 is Attack of the Clones. Now, a couple of caveats. This one could easily move up 4 or 5 for me. And even though it's my least favorite of the prequels, because I like Phantom Menace better than this, it's the prequel movie I watched the most, which it seems a little odd.
Interesting.
Okay, let's put it this way. If the moments of dialogue between Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman were stronger or authentic, I think this would catapult it to maybe top 5 of my Star Wars movies, period.
Wow.
But those parts are so just awkward and uncomfortable and just they're not disingenuous, they're just not powerful for what moments deserve to be powerful. But I love Count Dooku. He's one of my favorite characters. I love Obi-Wan being the gumshoe. I love the opening sequence where they're chasing down Zam Wesell. The Battle of Geonosis is great. The Yoda sequence is one of my favorite moments I've ever had in a movie theater. So I mean, I don't have, there's no asterisk in this one like there is with The Rise of Skywalker. It's just, that's why it's low, because of the Anakin and Padme stuff. Not that they fall in love, but how it happens.
I would agree. I mean, even my daughter kind of squirms and gets uncomfortable during those scenes.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know why, I don't think, but I do, because it's strange. It's not natural. So number 9, are we ready for number 9?
No, we're ready.
Number 9. Okay. So this one, Lisa's not going to be happy with me. And again, it's just where it falls. It's Solo.
Boy.
Solo goes here. I love the movie, but I'm gonna go with Mason's line here. It's not sitting here because I don't like it. It's just I like all the other ones better. I love the trip to Kessel. I love the action sequence that opens on. The action sequence is on Kessel.
Yep.
Corellia.
Right?
Corellia.
The opening's Corellia, yeah.
Okay, so maybe I need to watch it again. But I love the twist at the end. It has the biggest surprise in Star Wars, I think, when Maul appears. I don't think I've ever jumped out of my seat before, like I did when he appeared.
I remember that. That was fun.
Yep,
and
next to you.
And so, it has some great moments, but I like all the others better.
Great.
My next one is Phantom Menace. And this, as we were just starting this
number
show.
9, right? Yeah.
Number 9. Yep, number 9 is Phantom Menace. And as we're starting this show, we were just talking and previously about the recording of New Hope. I was like ranking them. I was like, oh yeah, why did I put that one there? And I moved Phantom Menace from the bottom all the way up to this position, number 9. And it was because the memories I have of Darth Maul and seeing, and I'm going to bring up a really weird memory. I don't know if you guys heard me tell this story, but when I first heard about the Phantom Menace, it was through the Rosie O'Donnell show. Have I told the story before?
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say, but I don't know the story.
Yeah, so I would come home from school, and I think it was like 4 o'clock or so. The Rosie O'Donnell show would come on in like the 90s. And she had already seen the movie, and she was talking about it and how much Darth Maul was super scary. And she showed like this clip or something from it, and I was sucked in. I was like, Rosie O'Donnell, thank you very much. And I was like, I'm watching this. And I remember being so hyped and so excited. But then at that point, I didn't know who to tell. I mean, we didn't have the internet and stuff, so I was just like, it was just me and Rosie O'Donnell. So it was a matter of getting excited with Rosie O'Donnell.
And that restraining order was
and that restraining order was holding well, yes. Yeah. But that ranks for me. And then, again, I think it holds up. I think that movie actually holds up a lot with a younger audience, which I've recently had with, not recently, but like my kids have watched that movie, obviously, and really relate to it and get excited about it. It's a very fun, action-oriented movie. We discover a lot of new things. And it's kind of the Jedi at their prime. We haven't seen that before. It's a lot of cool stuff. But Qui-Gon Jinn is a huge, big character for me. So, that's where I rank that number 9 for me, Phantom Menace.
My number 9 is The Phantom Menace.
Aha! And Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. No. But I like this movie. The things that I don't like about it, if there is such a thing, is that I feel like when this was in theaters, the pod race sequence that we know now, that we see all the time, has been extended. It's much, much longer than it was in the original theatrical cut. Yeah. And it just worked better when it was a little bit tighter, I think.
Yeah.
I think Jar Jar's funny. All 3 of my boys, 20, 18, and 6, all love Jar Jar. Legitimately love Jar Jar. I've said this many times. They laugh at him like I do the Three Stooges. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of the coolest characters ever. I love midichlorians. I think they're fascinating, and I think that are really insightful. And I do believe they've been there since the beginning as well. I mean, I wrote an article about that for Star Wars Insider where I talked a lot about that. And Darth Maul is great. I mean, I just think the politics is a little too much of that for my liking. But that being said, I do like Phantom Menace. So that's my number 9.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and I see that's something that I like about the prequels is the politics side of it, and I find that to be really fascinating, and it leads to that awesome quote in Revenge of the Sith. And I always get
this
the
is
quote
how
around,
liberty dies with thunderous applause.
Thunderous applause. I love that. Oh, that just
so this
goosebumps.
Is how liberty dies. Yeah.
Goosebumps. All right, Dan. Apologies to you. My number 8, The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Of the sequel trilogy, it's probably my least favorite, but it's the one movie walking out of the theater where in the moment I was like, this is the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen. But as it's aged on me, and it hasn't kept its sheen as I've moved further away from it. It's also the only Star Wars movie where I went back to see it a second time. I walked in, saw the giant poster of Leia, and the weight of the movie. Now, this isn't necessarily a negative thing, but it's the only Star Wars movie where I walked in to see it again, and the weight of it just hit me so hard that I turned around and left. I did not go see it again.
Wow!
I only saw it once in the theaters. I'll watch it and I enjoy it now. But it was so heavy, so much cost to it that I don't know. And that movie has probably one of the most memorable uses of audio for a Star Wars movie ever, and that's when there is no audio. And I just so impacting when that happened. I thought it was phenomenal. Has one of the best lightsaber scenes, again, with Kylo Ren and Rey and the Praetorian Guards. I mean, pure action. But it just it falls down to this spot because I don't know. I can't really put my finger on why, but that's
Sure.
where it lands.
Great. That's cool. All right, you're number 8, sir.
I'm going to agree with Tom here. This is Last Jedi for me. And I love this movie up to the throne room scene. That throne room scene is it is one of the best sequences I've ever seen. And the build of the character build up to that point is exquisite. But after that scene, I as a fan wanted something else to happen. I wanted Rey to take Kylo Ren's hand, and they just boom. Now they're working together, trying to figure out this weird thing called the Force, and it's figure out their ways. And that's not the way it worked. That's not the way it happened. And Luke was kind of in his odd spot. And for Rian Johnson, put together something that was creative, that was story driven, that was character driven, that gave these characters uniqueness, was great. That was a huge get for some of these new characters and this new fandom. But to me, it just didn't filter out the things I wanted to know. I wanted to know about Rey. I wanted to know who Snoke was. I want all these things that were like just never came to be. And I was just like, after like you said, the lights come on, and you're like, what just happened here? We just lost Luke and didn't get any answers for the questions I had in my head. And I was expecting answers that didn't get them. I got something different. And I think that's okay. I think that's a good way to partake it. And I thought to myself, okay, we'll just wait till the next movie, and then they'll just all come full circle. And I'll get to that when I bring up Rise of Skywalker. But yeah, that's where this ranks for me. Number 8, The Last Jedi.
All right. Well, we're not going to agree. I wondered if there's going to be one where we all are like, oh yeah, this is number 4. This is number. But my number 8 is Solo. Solo, Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones all could switch at any time, at any point.
Sure.
Solo is great fun. Alden Ehrenreich is fantastic. Eunice Suetamo is fantastic. It's the best Chewie movie of all the Star Wars movies. I forgot about Harrison Ford watching the movie. Of course, I've said many times how much fun I had with Peyton at the premiere of that. I got to meet George Lucas at this thing. A lot of great stuff. I liked Dryden Voss. I love the ending with Maul. You could say it's fair to say I'm a big fan of Emilia Clarke in this movie.
She's great.
She's phenomenal. But ultimately, to me, this movie is just fun, but it doesn't really say anything. I still don't think we learn anything about Han Solo as a character through this movie. And that's me being a pretentious English teacher, and I'm very comfortable with that. So that's where Solo ranks for me. Still, right. I love it. I mean, I just showed it to Mace a couple weeks ago, and he loved it too. He had so much fun with that. And anything with a Falcon, great. All right, so that was 8. So now we're on number 7.
All right. My middle 4 could be, I think on any given day, could be 7 to 4, could be switched around. So I'm going to go number 7, Rise of Skywalker.
I thought you'd have it higher.
I enjoyed this. Well, you got to make some choices.
Yeah.
And again, kind of like The Last Jedi, it sort of has slid down. And I have to be honest with you, some films that I've one in particular has gone from about this position up to my top 3 that I'll talk about a little bit later. But so Rise of Skywalker I put here mainly because I totally lost. Oh well, here's why I liked it is I love the pacing of it. I loved that fast pace. In a final film of a trilogy, I expect a quick pace. I want them to answer my questions. I want them to give me the information. I don't have to like it, but I just want I want it all to be in there. And the biggest thing left out of this, I mean, it was already a long movie. I think you could have put it in another 10 minutes to give us an actual space battle at the end of this. I really felt like the space battle was more of a on the ground battle when Poe and Rose and Jana.
Jana?
Jana, yeah.
Jana?
When they were
You didn't want to
the,
see space horses on top of a spaceship? You didn't want to see that?
Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't. And it was novel. It was something I'd never really seen before, I don't think. But I wanted more of the cavalry. I wanted more of Lando, and I wanted more of the Falcon. I wanted more of the Ghost, and any of the other ships. I wanted more X-wing pilots, and I didn't get that, and that really fell flat for me. But personally, I loved the bringing the Emperor in. I love those scenes. I love the horror aspect of those. I loved seeing a Corvette taking off from the moon. That's one of I love that ship, and to see it so close to the ground and like rising up out of the forest and taking off. That was a great moment. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It definitely doesn't surpass the movies that are above it on for Rise of Skywalker today.
That's totally fair. I will say what happens with Ben Solo is magnificent. I do love that very much.
Absolutely. Had your chance.
I did say there were some things that were some of my favorites in all the saga, and that was one of them. I forgot to mention.
4 movies later, I
don't want Lisa to fire me running this thing.
My number 7 is also Rise of Skywalker, and
I thought it would be higher for you too.
So it was sitting at number 3 when we started this this call. It was sitting at number 3, and just we took a quick minute to kind of analyze and restructure. And as we've been talking, I've been like doing this whole okay, this guy could go, this could go right here, and I'm just because I feel like that's natural to me. Like as we're kind of talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that point. That does make that rank a little higher for me. And actually, I was going to say I want to do a flip flop between my 7 and 8, but I'll leave it here for now because we already talked about it. But Rise of Skywalker, I think I would say Last Jedi is a little bit above that, only because if we talk about it now, I feel like it's a little solid movie. Rise of Skywalker still didn't get me the answers I wanted from these characters, because what Rian Johnson did with the characters and all that great writing really just fell flat in Rise of Skywalker. All these crazy things are happening, and he said the pacing is super fast. It has to be fast because they don't know what to do. Like the dead speak. All of a sudden, the Emperor comes back. He's on this massive army, not just 2 or 3, Star Destroyers. It's like a bazillion, and we'll just wait. We'll give you a deadline of 3 to 7 days for us to find us. Good luck. And to me, that's not the plot. That's not a plot. That doesn't. Emperor comes back. Okay, I can believe this. I can get on board. Let's figure this thing out. I think it could have just been written better. It was just lazy writing. Chewie, quote unquote, dying in this explosion. It doesn't. What? Who does that? That's horrible writing. Doesn't even work that way. Wait, he's still alive. And all of a sudden, Rey's figuring out these things, and it's just like, what is happening? Now, I will give it credit because I like this lightsaber battle between Rey and Ren, between the 2 different realities, like inside their head kind of thing. That was really unique. Like you said, Ben Solo, huge highlight in that movie. Yes. His redemption should have happened in The Last Jedi and arcing that kind of into the last film. That's just a small minor point. They could have just swapped for me, and I would have been a big happy fan. But they didn't, and I have to be okay with that and just move on, because it is what it is. Like you said, Dan, it is what it is. But Rise of Skywalker was high as it is now because it's so kind of still in our brains. It just came out on Disney Plus not too long ago, and so it's still kind of up there. I do want to take another shot at it and watch it again. All these movies I want to go back and watch again. Now we've talked about them. Maybe we should go back and watch and do commentaries and all this stuff. So,
of course.
Wow. Oh man, we're only halfway through. Well, more than halfway.
This is cool. I'm so proud of you for being critical of that too, because I think there's a lot of storytelling that just. It's not like
I'm actually swapping these two. So
no, that's fair. It's not like I'm an expert in storytelling.
Nobody is.
Oh wait, I am. I went to school for it. Yeah.
Well, you went to school for it, but who's an expert in anything, right? They can always be taught a new lesson.
Jesus.
That's discounted.
Okay.
But it's anyway, it's a different topic. Go ahead.
That was fun. That was worth all
good.
7 years of my life. All right.
What?
My number 7 is, and I feel like Benedict Arnold, and I remember back in 2016 thinking I can't do this because I just can't. That wouldn't be right. But it's Return of the Jedi. It's so low, but there are other movies that are ahead of it, and for good reason. Return of the Jedi is wonderful. It's magnificent. The end sequence with Vader, Palpatine, and Luke is very powerful and poignant. But I think, for me, I would be dishonest if I said I always felt that way from the beginning, because I did not. When I saw it, when it first came out in 1983, I was 9-10 years old, and I was disappointed by the ending. I'm like, what? Vader's this old guy, and I don't like the Emperor, and blah blah blah, and that just bothered me. But I ultimately really think, and I've said this before too, is that I think I was just sad that it was over, because there was no 1, 2, and 3, and there certainly wasn't a 7, 8, and 9.
Look at us now.
And I know, and I think that was why it was hard for me. But I always loved it. I saw it a million times. I had those Presto Magics, Return of the Jedi things where you could make your own scenes. Remember that? I had all the figures. Getting those Return of the Jedi figures are some of my favorite memories. The Jabba stuff's great. And just, I don't know. The only reason it's ranked where it is because the movie's above it. But like I said, I feel so bad because this is the original trilogy. But it's number 7 for me. I feel like I need to go cry in the closet or something.
No, I don't think you have to at all, because my number 6 is Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
And I put it here. There's one very specific reason why I put it here, and it goes back to when I first saw it in 1983. I did not like the Ewoks.
Really?
They really, really bothered me. I was like, this is lasers, and this is the Force, and this is Death Stars, and this is all this stuff, and little bears are going to save the rebellion? Really? As a teenager, that's what I thought. It really, really bothered me. I thought it was a marketing ploy to sell cute things to kids, and so I was really disappointed, because you think about how that movie opens with that whole Jabba sequence, and the Sarlacc, and that action sequence there where Leia strangles Jabba the Hutt and they escape and blah, and then and
Luke Skywalker and the jumping up, and
that is so awesome. And the middle of the film is fantastic, with returning to Yoda and all that, and then you have the new Death Star, and that space battle was second to none at the time.
Yeah.
I've never seen such an awesome space battle with so many ships,
all the TIE fighters
coming at you and just like right in your face. And then you have the Ewoks. And I was just like, this is so disappointing. But as I've matured and grown, and we realize how important nature is to the light side of the Force, and that the Jedi have a connection to nature and all that, it doesn't bother me so much anymore. But that's why it sits where it does for me. I was also kind of disappointed, like you said, Dan, when you pop off Vader's helmet, who's that guy? That was not what I was expecting. I was expecting someone much more powerful looking, maybe younger. Maybe a Hayden, someone. But I just
boy band good looks.
I don't know. No, I expected scarring, and I expected lightsaber or something, but I wasn't expecting old.
Right.
And so when he takes that off, I was kind of like, yeah, that's not what I was looking for.
Fair.
But that lightsaber battle as well, with Vader and Luke, and ending with the conflict and the first time we ever saw Force lightning, so cool. So I don't know. We're getting to the point where it's really hard to rank some of these, but that's where that one falls for me.
All right.
My number 6 is Solo, a Star Wars story. I like this one a lot. It's like you said. I think Alden Reich. I can't remember his name right.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich.
I do the same thing.
I was super nervous about this movie going in. As somebody listens to the old shows of CWK, knows that this. I originally felt that this movie should never have been made, because you don't touch Solo, and they'll never get the right actor, and it'll work out. But they got the right guy.
Yeah.
That made it a lot for me, and I wasn't pulled out of the movie for that. Also, they got the right Lando. I think that was
Donald
excellent.
Glover.
Donald Glover was exquisite. Well done. Just the old callbacks, the grittiness of it was kind of back. We had the gangs. We had, all kinds of, sequences, action. Woody Harrelson was so cool. That scene where he's up on top of that hill in the battle and flipping his blasters around and blasting. I was like, this guy is so cool.
You love that part.
All of a sudden, it's Woody Harrelson. I was like, okay, this is the solo for this film, or like the pre-solo to solo, and I model some stuff after that, of course. But it was fun. It was cool to see Darth Maul pop up again. Just the community balance worked for me. I think it was nice. Now my woes to it were the fact that yes, we knew it was kind of coming. We knew he'd win the Falcon. We knew, he learned his swagger. He learned how to become a gruffian and whatnot. But there's a lot more things that shine than dampen in this movie, and it's just a lot of big fun. I think too. There's another thing, you can go and watch this movie, and I've said this before, and not have to care about Star Wars at all, and still have a lot of fun in a Star Wars environment, and not have to worry about the characters, and just have a good old time with, if you're looking to introduce it to your girlfriend, boyfriend, mother-in-law, or dog, and they will still like it. So a lot of fun.
I think 6 is a great place for Solo. That makes a lot of sense. All the stuff you said, I totally agree with.
Feel free to re-rank yours if you want to.
I'm good.
All right. So now we're in. So this is my number 6.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep, you're number 6.
All right. My number 6 is The Force Awakens. It's kind of interesting. For a long time, I said The Force Awakens was a perfect Star Wars movie. Not the perfect Star Wars movie, but a perfect Star Wars movie. I have never bought into this notion that it's a rehash of A New Hope. I don't think that's true at all. I think there are certain archetypal elements because it's a fantasy and because it's Star Wars, and that's how you tell these kinds of stories. The writing is sharp. Harrison Ford practically steals the show. He's magnificent. It's too bad that Carrie Fisher wasn't still around for many reasons more important than a silly space movie. But The Rise of Skywalker was going to be Carrie Fisher's showcase. Just like The Last Jedi was Mark Hamill's, and The Force Awakens is Harrison's, and as he really, really shines. All the introductions of the new trio of Rey, Finn, and Poe are great. Daisy is extraordinary. Poe, Oscar Isaac is awesome and charismatic, and John Boyega is awesome as Finn. It's captivating. The notion of a stormtrooper going rogue is great. The twist at the end was shocking. And this would probably be even higher for me if I, of course, I've said this many times too, so I apologize for repeating myself. But the fact that I knew that Kylo was Ben's son and that he was going to kill him, that was spoiled for me before I saw the first showing of that movie.
Yeah.
It totally is still to this day, years later, still impacted how I first saw that. And that's boo-hoo. But at the time, it really upset me. That being said, that movie also has a lot of stand-up things for me because it's the first time we saw a Star Wars movie as Coffee with Kenobi. You and I, Corey, did a live show at the movie theater, at the Rave movie theater, and had a ball. I was on TV before on one of the newscasts talking about that, which turned out being, pretty great, a good sign of things to come. And it's just a great fun movie. Maz Kanata is great. It's just fun. I mean, these are like these top 6. I think are the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Dan, I'm gonna follow suit with my number 5, The Force Awakens. Now this is one that the last time we did this, I don't remember all my lists for the last time we did this, but last time Force Awakens was my number 2. And some things have changed on some of the auxiliary stories that have lifted some of the movies. So that's why The Force Awakens falls in mine. I really don't have any fault with this one. It took me a long time to appreciate Maz Kanata. I don't know. I wasn't buying into her understanding of the Force without being a Force user. It took me a while. I'm cool with it now. I like it. I think that she's a really interesting character. But if I had an issue with it of the film, that might be it. I was also not a big. I don't know exactly how to say this. We've gone through 2 Death Stars, and now we have Starkiller Base. I was kind of looking for something more novel. I mean, it's a planet. I get it. It sucks a star. That's cool. So it's fine, but it didn't go novel enough for me, I guess. But
how about a whole army of Star Destroyers that all have planet exploding weapons?
Yeah, that sounds.
You've got that too, right?
No.
Yeah. So, but I think Harrison Ford and the surprise at the end steal the show. That might have been, besides the Darth Maul appearing at the end of Solo, that might have been my second jump out of my seat moment. Although it was more of a sink into my seat shock moment. But it was my daughter's first Star Wars movie, and they gave her a hero, and so she, Rey is my daughter's first Star Wars hero, and so nothing can take that away from my love of that movie. So, Force Awakens, number 5.
Love it. Number 5 for me, and I feel like I'm in the same boat with you, Dan. Ranking original trilogy movies this low, it just feels like a sin. Empire Strikes Back, and I was literally going back and forth. I was going back and forth between my 4 and 5, and it just happened to be it just is what it is right now. Empire Strikes Back. I haven't seen it for a while. Let me tell you, ask me tomorrow, and it might be number 2. I don't know. It's just, I feel like I need to give it. I mean, it's an incredible movie. Like, I know. Thank you very much. Dan just took the vow of silence. But the idea that I rank this low is because I think we're dipping into something that becomes very personal. Tom, you brought up your daughters in Force Awakens, and we're getting this water of where I need to separate my fan feelings from my personal feelings. And this is where it's kind of edging for me. Like, these are Empire Strikes Back for me is a very fan-driven film for me as a fan. Like, I don't rank it this high because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And we know it to be an incredible movie. I mean, for the longest time, it was like ranked as the best Star Wars movie of all time because it was a sequel of a great film, and that doesn't happen, right? It was just a sequel that was never better than the original. And this is this case in point makes it dead in the water. So this is an incredible film. I mean, everybody's seen it. I don't know what else to say. I don't have any low points. Let's put it that way. So it just ranks where it is. It just falls where it is. So that's where I'm going to leave it.
It's great. This morning I got up at 4 a.m. for no reason, and I read 45 pages of the making of The Empire Strikes Back. And I've been working through it, but it's just captivating. It's like reading a history book.
Huh.
And I'm going to save this. I got a lot of reasons why I'm reading that for something later, but it's just interesting that you brought that up. So cool. I don't know. My number 5 is Rogue One. And I haven't heard it, of course, from your guys' list, so it must be really, really high. I haven't seen Rogue One in a while. It's probably been about 2 years, year and a half. But it's an extraordinary film with some legendary performances. I know Jim Capron, who's a wonderful Star Wars fan and a huge supporter of us on our Patreon page. Jen Erso is his absolute favorite. She's a great heroine. She's a great hero. She's very compelling for a lot of reasons, and she's the first Star Wars lead that we've ever had that wasn't a Force user or even Force sensitive. And I like that era of the Empire and the Galactic Civil War anyway, and seeing everything coming together, and all the little nods. The fact that Chopper is in the movie, the space battle thing is awesome, and at the end when all of the heroes die, including Jen Erso and Cassian Andor, is absolutely beautiful. Not because death is beautiful, but because sacrifice and what's important. There's no greater love than lay down your life for your friends, and this movie has that. It's Christian. It was also very Shakespearean. It's wonderful storytelling, and it's a great looking film. Michael Giacchino's music is awesome. Again, this is the first movie to feature a non-John Williams score, and he nailed it out of the park, especially with the Imperial theme that he made for that. Just great, and so many fun surprises. Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds dying when this movie came out, and seeing that movie, for the second or third or fourth time right after Carrie Fisher had died, just made the ending so much more poof. So, Rogue One, that's my number 5. So now we're on your number 4.
All right, number 4. Corey, don't feel so bad. The Empire Strikes Back. This
you
is
too?
This is one.
We're like the same age.
This movie has traditionally been my number 1. And just over time and over the last year, it's not that I don't want to say that it's fallen down. It's just other things have moved up.
Yep.
And I've watched it recently, so it's not like, oh, you need to watch it again. I've watched it in the last 2 months, and it is phenomenal. It is great. I know, right? I've moved it down to number 4 in its 40th year. I mean, come on. I mean, that's what happened to me.
Right.
That's what happened to me when I turned 40. I moved way down a lot of people's lists.
No.
Yeah, Tom Gross. Uh-huh.
That's right.
I have nothing bad to say about Empire Strikes Back. Like I said, it's been my number 1 for many, many years. The ending is one of the best. It caused the most buzz. It was the first time I ever had movie buzz as a kid, where kids are talking about it when we got home. When we got back to school after that weekend, and over the summer, my friend and I, we discussed was he really his father? Was he not his father? Han Solo being frozen in carbonite, the sort of despair at the end of the movie, did not expect. And so, and the walkers, oh my gosh, the Hoth battle is epic. And so, I don't know. It's just I gotta talk about the top 3 to understand why Empire is number 4.
Sure.
There you go. Number 4 for me, Return of the Jedi. Again, I flip-flop these because I was just like back and forth, and I just felt wrong. But Return of the Jedi beat out Empire for me because I think I just resonate a lot with that movie. I feel like that was the one that I really truly understood as a fan, as a kid. And it's always been ranked high because I like the speeder races between Luke and Leia and those speeder bikes. I love the Jabba scene and Leia sneaking in and rescuing Han Solo and Luke coming to his aid. At that point, we don't know if Luke's good or bad. He's choking out guards. He's got a brand new lightsaber. He's not messing around. I mean, he's dark. But it's just a lot of cool things in that movie as a fan. I think I have more of my childhood in that movie than I do the other original trilogy films. So I think that's where it ranks higher for me.
Sure.
But a lot of cool things in that movie. And you guys brought up Darth Vader being old, which I guess I always kind of like, I don't know what I expected when that mask came off. And it's an interesting discussion, certain roles. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's number 4 for me.
All right. Fair enough. My number 4 is Revenge of the Sith. A prequel film that actually beats out original trilogy film. But I think the very first guest we ever had on was Ian Desher, author of William Shakespeare's Star Wars. And I said to him, Revenge of the Sith, because he'd only done the original trilogy Shakespeare stuff. And I said, Revenge of the Sith is absolutely Shakespearean. It's Anakin is very much Hamlet. And I explained why. It's the very first lesson I ever taught in my life. It was to my peers. It was fellow teachers from all different disciplines. And I taught a lesson on Anakin Skywalker and compared him to Hamlet. I think the movie is so smart. It's probably the darkest as far as what it's trying to accomplish. The fact that the beloved hero, murders kids. And he's confused by his loyalties. I have zero problem buying his fall to the dark side. It does take a little bit of work by the audience, but after time and study and just knowing kind of what I know about this film series, it's a beautiful, powerful film. just showing it to Mason recently. I felt Scream was showing him some things because of the weight of what's actually going on. Order 66 is more powerful because of the Clone Wars. And to be completely fair, this moved up even more for me because of the power of the Siege of Mandalore and what happened with Ahsoka and the incredible genius of the intersplicing that arc with Revenge of the Sith. The last battle sequence, the way the film ends, it is just one heck of a powerful, powerful story.
Cool.
All right.
Like it.
Top 3, gentlemen.
Top 3.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
And this is, I'm just going to tell you, this is, I mean, if you really looked at my list, you'd be able to tell what my top 3 are right off the bat. But this is a brand new look for top 3 for me. I've never had.
I'm excited.
2 of these movies have never shown up in my top 3. So, and the first one is A New Hope. A New Hope has always been number 4 or 5 for me. And after our recent review of this, and I watched it just 2 weeks before our review of it, so I've seen it a couple times in the last month. I go back to, I can't go wrong with the original. It is a perfect introduction to a mythology, and the introduction of Luke Skywalker, and looking at the homestead now, where we see it so many times in so many different places, if you will, and the first time we see who Darth Vader is in that opening sequence, this scary villain who's going to become one of the most popular villains in history potentially. And then this idea of a Death Star that can blow up planets. It's so classic. And so it changed my life. This is the movie that set me on the direction where I never thought that I'd be still talking about with friends like you guys here. I thought there'd be much more adult things to be talking about than Star Wars. But what's more adult than talking about Star Wars?
Right.
I mean, seriously. So this is it. It's number 3 for me.
Great. So cool.
Number 3, The Force Awakens. And like I said before, this dips into just like, now I'm picking movies because almost purely on personal reasons. This is the movie that my kids have grown up with. And they still, I still think back to that day, and it has a lot to do with our show. I mean, being Coffee with Kenobi, it was the first movie we saw as a show, as friends, Dan, and I experienced a lot of things that year going into that show. It was new for me, and a lot of great memories for that. And again, for the reasons you said, Dan, we get these brand new host of characters, but yet this is a new movie for a new generation, coming off a huge hiatus. I never knew it was going to ever happen. We never knew we'd get a seventh film or ninth film, but it was just a huge break in kind of this waiting see period, and it was just a breath of fresh air. To your point, people who say it's just a rehash of A New Hope, they need to watch it again and see, just to see it again for the character. These are new characters, a new setting, a new era, and then to see all the old characters come back and get their time to shine in the movie itself. I mean, it's not without its failures, but I think it's such a nice fresh start. It's just fun to watch, and I just enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of big fun, I think, and not only a Star Wars movie, but also just a film in general. So that's what ranks for number 3 for me, Force Awakens.
That's cool. I know how special that movie has been to you because of you and your family. All right, so this is my number 3, but it's really not.
What?
In fact, my top 3 are 1A, and 1B. I mean, they're honestly
That's not
closer.
Allowed. That's not allowed.
That's allowed.
I see. Because Dan
anyway, it's just semantics at this point. But
fair.
They're just they're between 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7, 8. They're a marked difference. These 3 are, and you probably are all the same way with your top 3 too. They're just so incredibly close to one another that you could easily have any of them as the best one. But my number 3 / 1B is The Last Jedi. Now, if not for Canto Bight, Canto Bight does not work for me.
No, me either.
But the rest of this film, the complexity, the legitimately powerful complexity of Luke Skywalker and his incredible humanity, the thrill of what. This is another reason why the Rise of Skywalker doesn't work for me, because Rey is so smart and so complex and so compelling and such a champion of light over darkness. And then suddenly in the Rise of Skywalker, she's struggling to the pull of the dark side out of nowhere. Yeah. That bothers me, because what The Last Jedi did was it set up this very clear dichotomy of your parents don't have to define you. You might come from a very toxic background, but you can be better. You can rise above because of your choice, because of your compassion, because of who you are as a person, not what your lineage is. It's so great, so powerful. And Ryan Johnson, by all accounts, I've never had the good fortune to meet him at this point, but is an awesome guy, a fantastic writer, a fantastic director. That lightsaber duel that you both mentioned with Rey and Kylo, the team in Defeat Snoke, the way that breaks down, the way it looks like Rey is just going to have no chance of survival, and she triumphantly destroys them through these clever Kylo Ren things. The fact that they filmed that sequence in a red background that's perfectly lit with red guards and they all stand out. It's just so, it's almost like a Bruce Lee Kung Fu masterpiece. And it's an extraordinary film. I saw this one for the first time in Chicago at a media screening a couple days before it came out. And I recorded my thoughts on the way home in the car by myself, because you and I, and of course now the three of us always do that after celebrations. But I just kept saying, this is the film I never knew I needed. It refreshed Star Wars in a way that I didn't think was necessary or possible. It was just absolutely brilliant. I mean, I could rave. I mean, this could easily be my top movie. It's not for the reason I'm going to say, but it's just, again, if it went not for Canto Bight, this would be probably number one.
Nice.
And also because I didn't think, like, at any point now, because they come out so regularly, when you go and see Star Wars movies, you're like, I can't wait to see it. It's cool. It's Star Wars. But a little bit of the novelty, a little of the sheen is kind of worn off because it's not 3 years between.
Interesting.
And I just went in thinking I'm going to be excited, but I didn't. When I let that in, I didn't know this is going to be one of my favorite movies ever. So,
all right. Well, we're on to the top two then. So my number 2 is Revenge of the Sith.
Wow.
And this is one that normally sits 6 or 7 for me. And I'm going to admit the season 7 of the Clone Wars, in particular, the last 4 episodes, really pumped this one up for me. I don't know why it's never resonated with me in the past, but this story, this side story, and the Siege of Mandalore, and the master plan that Darth Maul senses and has inkling of has really made Revenge of the Sith more real for me. Watched it recently. Watched because my daughter couldn't remember watching it the first time or didn't remember all the details of it, so we watched it again before watching the Siege of Mandalore. And that time around, something that really struck me was how this is a movie that I didn't really want to end. I don't remember that sense watching it in the theater. And in fact, when Revenge of the Sith came out, it was a pretty crummy time of my life, I have to be honest with you. So I'm not surprised I don't really remember going and seeing it. But I didn't want it to end, and it kept not ending, if that makes sense. Because you have so many things to resolve, and each time there was a resolution, something bigger came out of it. And so, and again, the politics, I've really come to appreciate the politics of the prequels. And so I really enjoyed that. Reading some of the books that have sort of built this up. For example, E.K. Johnston's Padme books, Queen of Shadows, has been a big proponent for building up the prequels for me. And so, I don't know. I mean, you have this opening sequence that has a tie-in to season 7 of Clone Wars, but where Anakin and Obi-Wan have to leave Ahsoka to go save the Emperor. Boy, there's a new way of looking at that whole thing after Anakin's argument with, Obi-Wan's argument with with Ahsoka, but what a great opening sequence. It might be the best opening sequence of all the Star Wars movies. The Battle of Coruscant. So I don't know, just so much
music.
Oh, and the music is phenomenal. So it's really, really come high on my radar. Revenge of the Sith. So number 2.
Number 2 for me is Rogue One, and I didn't know it was going to be placed here because when I first saw this in theaters, that first entry comes in, and there's no crawl. It's our first non-Star Wars film, aside from Skywalker films and stuff. But I said non-Star Wars film. I meant non-Skywalker film.
Sure. No,
Late night, and I don't know what time it is. But it didn't feel right. I was like, this doesn't feel right. But that's the whole point, Dan. For the reasons you said around The Last Jedi being just something I didn't know I needed, this was it. I mean, this is kind of getting back to that gritty feeling, but also these characters again are kind of set in a world that doesn't need a Skywalker in it. But it's still a looming force, right? It's still on the horizon, still felt in the galaxy, and these characters are so kind of scummy. They're not really. I mean, heroes. They all kind of have their dark history, and they're getting by in this weird, strange galaxy. But they have to kind of work together as a team, and almost like a family coming together, which felt like was really interesting to me. That family dynamic is in this. You brought up. I'm forgetting her name now. The main actress, Jyn Erso, thank you. Was an incredible character. Just her history of her father and where does she lie and what she believes in and whatnot. And these characters are kind of propping each other up, and the comedy and the action and just the dynamic of believing in something you don't see the force and these characters who are just coming together as friends is just, and the ending is just so dark, but so rich, right? I mean, it's almost, you have to watch it, and that's why I found my kids were watching it not too long ago. We're kind of rewatching some of the movies on Disney Plus and watching this one, and I kept poking my head out and kind of watching. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, this is good. I forgot how good this is. Okay, yeah, well, I got to go back. And I'm doing stuff in between. I kept finding myself coming out and watching it with them, and it was so much fun. And I thought, this is a great film. Like, I just need to sit down and watch it again just for kicks. But also that last Vader scene, that still terrifies me.
Yes.
And I've never been a huge Darth Vader scares me type thing, but this shows so much terror in that. It's almost like a horror towards that in that sequence. But then also the way it syncs up to A New Hope is absolutely perfect. Mm-hmm. It is perfect. You mentioned Clone Wars syncing up to Revenge of the Sith. This does that for me for A New Hope, but really well done, and I like it a lot. So very cool.
Great. No, I love. It's fun for me to hear your guys's. We all know what we think of these movies, but we don't. So it's cool to hear all of you both explaining your thought behind all of these.
Yeah.
So my number 2/1A is Star Wars.
Which
the
one?
Only reason A New Hope
the Star
isn't
Wars?
The Star Wars. The only reason this one isn't number 1 is because the one that's number 1 is the one that you guys forgot about. It's the only Star Wars movie that actually feels like it has a date to it. Like, I think you can tell, like when I'm watching Empire or Jedi, they don't feel like 80s movies to me, even though they're 80s movies. Star Wars feels like a 70s movie, but that's not a knack. I think it's just the way it was filmed and lit and the way they've touched up. They've kind of left that original cinematic, the cinescope feel to it, if that makes sense. But that's not a flaw. It's the movie that started all of my many, many, many memories with this film. With growing up, I didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad, but some of the great moments of my life as a boy involved him in a good way when it came to this movie. And that will always mean something to me. My brother and I have great memories of this together. My mom brought us so many times. It was very therapeutic for me. And it just became about so many things, and it's Joseph Campbell created the hero's journey. George Lucas was one of his best students. He helped work with him on creating and crafting this film. It's in many ways it's kind of a perfect movie, beginning, a middle, and an end. There are all payoffs. There's a little bit of ambiguity, but it really is a movie that fits within the construct of itself. It's Star Wars. It's great.
Okay.
Number
Here
one.
it is.
Number one.
I actually lost track of what your guys' number one's going to be, to be honest.
Oh, okay. My number one is Rogue One.
Wow.
It's ever since it came out, it's been in my top three, and it's just sort of, it's gone 2, 3, 2, 3. And the reason I put it at number one today is because this is a movie when I'm kind of sitting, especially in the world we're living in today, where I'm kind of just sitting there twiddling my thumbs thinking, what could I do? And I'm like, I'll watch a Star Wars movie. Rogue One is always the one I want to watch. It's just the one I want to watch. And I think, so there's that aspect of it. Second of all is, it's the one Star Wars movie where my wife at the end said, that was good. And she didn't say it because
right.
she thought that's what I wanted to hear.
Yep.
She actually liked the movie. And I think it's a movie that someone say, if you introduced it to somebody and could strip off the title of Star Wars on it and say, I got a great movie for you to watch. It's great action. It's great characters. There's a great ending. You show them that and they're going to love it. And so many times when I watch Rogue One now, I kind of forget I'm watching a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that level to it. Gareth Edwards created in my mind, a perfect film that fits the genre. I think the music is great. I think when the X-Wings and the U-Wings show up to attack that Imperial base in that snowstorm, it's one of the most dramatic scenes in a Star Wars story that you could possibly have. And I think this movie, it's hard to believe that I can even say this, but this movie helps A New Hope become even better.
Wow.
Because it shows the sacrifice. It shows all of that so that when I look at Han and Leia and Luke and what they're doing and the plight of R2-D2 and C-3PO, I look at all of that in A New Hope. Now I've got some backing that puts some emotion to what they're doing. We're seeing the heroes in A New Hope. In Rogue One, we're seeing the grunt. As both of you have talked about, it's the dirty side. It's the get your nails dirty kind of things. Not that what Luke, Leia, and Han don't isn't the dirty work. It's just they're heroes. He's a Jedi, or he's going to be a Jedi. Han Solo's the best smuggler in the galaxy. He's got the greatest ship in the galaxy. Princess Leia has the greatest background, and she's a heroic character. The others, Cassian Andor, he's a rebel. Jyn Erso, she's a rebel, and they fight and they grit and they fight through all of that. And I just think it's such a beautiful, beautiful film. And right now in my life, Rogue One is my top Star Wars film.
I love it.
Oh, such passion there. I love it.
It's so good. All right, man, you're number one.
My number one is A New Hope, and it was like when we started making this list, I had that like synced up. I had pulled a list from another file and just pasted into a new document. And instantly I knew, number one, New Hope, got to be it. The rest will just kind of fall where they may. And like you said, it can move down in ranking only because of what it is. But I really did enjoy our commentary the other week, and watching through it again just showed me so much of how valuable this film is for Star Wars fans. Without this movie, we would have none of the other 10 movies. And it just says so much as a story, as characters. Is it dated? Sure. I mean, like you said, Dan, it's got its things, but it is such imaginative and just heroic. Like you said, everyone has their things, and there's heroes in doing their things, and I'm not being very descriptive, but it's just, to me, it's just a great film to watch, and it ranks to me like, people ask, well, what order should I watch Star Wars, and this is what you start with, because this tops it all. I mean, this kicks everything off. Everything that's going to happen and will happen. This is the one that sets everything in motion. Yes, there were some events that came before this, but this is the one that kicks everything off and kind of explores this brand new place in a galaxy far, far away. So the idea is just fascinating. It's fun. I think it does hold up. I mean, people have its foils about being George coming back and doing the special editions, which I think that's just his creative juices flowing. I'd like to watch the 1977 version, which I don't even know if I probably ever have. I don't think I have, honestly, because I've only seen the TV recorded one. It was on TV, and then the special editions in the 90s. So I don't know anything before that. So I'd like to see, it in its original skin. So, but
come on over.
You've got it?
Yeah.
Is it on Laserdisc?
Beta.
On beta. So you have to hook up your beta player?
Yep.
Okay,
mine's on VHS.
VHS?
Yeah. I have a VHS version of it too.
Yeah. You got to have a VCR. I don't have a VCR.
Oh, boy. I don't have one of those either. I only have a DVD player. Wow. No, yeah, that's number one, A New Hope. There it is.
I love
Fair
it.
enough.
And all the world building that went into the making of. I highly recommend the J.W. Rensler Making of Star Wars book, because it's extraordinary. Well, my number one is, let's all say it, class, The Empire Strikes Back. I've always said that. I can't imagine that ever changing. Although I will say that The Last Jedi gave it a real run for its money. Huh. But this movie subverts the hero's journey even more than The Last Jedi does. It's the best Han Solo movie of all of the films, including Solo. Luke has never been more compelling. Well, that's not true. Luke has been more exciting, because then he comes into his own with the Force. Hoth, phenomenal. AT-ATs. Hoth is my favorite planet, and those scenes are my favorite, better than anything in any Star Wars movie. Cloud City is exquisite. I still want to have a 1-1 scale Han Solo and Carbonite, like I've been saying since we first started the show.
That's right. That's right.
Yoda is my second favorite character. Darth Vader is my favorite character. So this is the best Darth Vader movie. He's the most nuanced in this one. I mean, yes, he's got some complexity in Return of the Jedi, but a lot of that is some of the narrative that we have added. Empire just says it, just puts it all out there. I'm having the most fun reading the making of this film. And then the Leia Han thing, they're the best couple in Star Wars. And this really just sells it. And then the end sequence, the bad guys win, which there's, the only other movie that compares to that is Infinity War.
Yeah.
When Infinity War was over, I remember thinking, wow, they just pulled The Empire Strikes Back again. And everyone, the way you all felt when you watched Infinity War, that's how we felt when The Empire Strikes Back came out.
That's right.
And it took 3 years to find out, not 1 year, like when everybody had their orange slices and all this. It took 3 years to find out. And every time we'd go back to see the movie, my little brother, who's not little anymore, but he would say, is Han Solo going to be freed in this one? Are they going to rescue Han Solo? No, it's the same movie.
Shut up,
it just made Return of the Jedi so much more powerful. The Jabba stuff. It's in Boba Fett. It is really cool in it. I don't think he's super cool in the other stuff, but he's super cool in this. It's just fantastic. And you get the Imperial March for the first time. I mean, can you think of a more iconic score that's a mainstream than the Imperial March? Maybe Star Wars.
Maybe Star Wars.
Yeah, it's plus Lawrence Kasdan wrote this and Raiders of the Lost Ark in the same year. That's pretty darn good. That's pretty good. So
pretty good.
There it is.
Pretty good.
There it is.
All right. Woo.
Wow. That was extraordinary. People are going to love this show. I love doing it.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
This has been fun. You guys make some really compelling arguments for me. To erase my. Let me make this change.
Yeah, it makes me want to go and watch the movies again. Like,
I know.
And like kind of reason with myself, like, why did I rank it like this? Let's go back and watch it and find out. Maybe it stays that way.
Pretty good about my list.
Me too.
And hearing you guys make great points and just made me realize why I still love all the other movies too. But wow, so fun. We should do this with other stuff. We should do this with horror movies, with indie movies, and all those smaller sample size of that.
Let's do it. Make it happen.
That'd be fun. So we should probably sign off.
Yes.
Thank you for spending your day with us on CWK Pour-Over, whether it's the video or the audio version. We are very appreciative of all of you and what you do. And remember, 10% of your contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital, which is more important than anything we do. That being said, we are happy to put a smile on your face during these times. Let us know. Fill up the comments. Rank your movies.
Do it. Rank them.
Fun. Conversation is not over. It's just beginning. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are. With Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
That is going to do it for this week's show. I hope you had a great time listening to us recap and look back at all of the existing Star Wars films. Now, when we recorded this, we thought there would be more Star Wars films. By now, of course, there are not, but that just means there's much more to look forward to as we celebrate the close of one year and the start of a brand new one. If you enjoyed what you listened to, please be sure to check out Coffee with Kenobi's Patreon page, which is www.coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance, and you can become a member of the CWK Alliance. You've got access to over 200 audio and video podcasts about Star Wars, pop culture, travel, food, rock music, Christmas, just about anything you can possibly imagine. I want to thank all of you for joining me every week on Coffee with Kenobi, whether it is here or on the live shows every week on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Live, on YouTube, Facebook, X. Oh my gosh, where else are we? Threads. We're there. I also want to thank Mouse Fan Travel, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Don't forget that in the summer of 2025, we have a huge celebration of Star Wars, another Coffee with Kenobi and Mouse Fan Travel trip. We're going to go on the Disney Wish and some other cool things as well. So keep that in mind, and as we get closer and closer, I will announce some dates. I hope you all have a wonderful, safe, and happy New Year, and enjoy your time with your loved ones. Be safe, be happy. May the Force be with all of you. Thank you again so much for being such a great member of the Star Wars community. My name is Dan Zayer, and I want to thank you again for joining me. This is the podcast you're looking for. Happy New Year, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.